Hi, this is Todd Olthoff from ToddOlthoff.com coming back at you with another screencast. And this week we're going to take a look at Profile Manager, which is built into OS X Server. Now, Profile Manager is Apple's MDM solution, or mobile device management solution, which allows you to push profiles to all of your devices and manage them right from a one particular interface. Now, for those of you that have a lot of devices at home, you might have a lot of iOS devices, you might have a lot of Macs. To those of you that are in businesses that might be running entire departments of computers and machines and iOS devices, Profile Manager makes it really easy to manage those devices. Typically, what we need to do is go to each device, change the settings, set up the phones or the Macs the way that we want them to be set up, and that can be time consuming. Where Profile Manager allows you to make the changes once for your different device groups and then push those changes to those devices and have all of your settings and all of your setup done just with the push of a button without you having to go to each device. So this really is one of the more powerful features that's built into OS X Server, and it's one of the ones that really makes Server worth it for the price. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through how to set up Profile Manager in this screencast, and then I'm going to go through each and every detail of how to set it up on your different devices, how to set up your configuration profiles and push those out. So we'll go through the entire process so that you'll be an expert when you're done. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the service right now. Here I am inside Profile Manager. And just like all of our other services, we've got our access area here. You can see our status is offline because the service is not on right now. And you can see for permissions, right now we've got all networks. If we wanted to change that, I could edit it, and we could actually choose which networks have access to Profile Manager, either private networks. So if you did that, you could select that, or you could select only some networks and then have to put in which ones you want to select. And so you can kind of fine-tune that a little bit for where you want access to come from. So I'm just going to say cancel. I'm going to leave it at all networks. Now, before I go into the settings and configuration profile section, it's important to understand that Profile Manager does use Open Directory. And so if you haven't set up Open Directory yet, Profile Manager will actually set it up for you when we do the install. Otherwise, you could set up Open Directory on your own, and I've done a screencast on that in this series, so you may want to look at that first and walk through that setup so that you've got Open Directory set and ready to go. Or, like I said, you could do it here in Profile Manager and have it set up for you. Now, the other thing too is you want to make sure that you've got your certificates set up and running, because your certificates are what you would use for all of the protection of your profiles being pushed back and forth. It does use SSL encryption, and so you want to make sure those are set up. And we're going to talk about that as we go through this Profile Manager settings and all of that. So once you've got those things ready to go, and like I said, you can watch my screencasts on how to do those, let's look at the settings. You see we've got device management disabled, and so we're going to want to configure this so that we can manage our devices, because that's really why we have Profile Manager in the first place. So I'm just going to come over here and click on Configure, and what it's going to do is read my settings so that it knows kind of what my server settings are so that it can start to configure device management. And again, this allows us to manage those devices. We can wipe the devices remotely, lock the devices. We can do a lot of things with it. All right, so it looks like we're all set. It's read my settings. I'm going to click on Next. And so then what it does is it asks you to enter your organization's information. And this is information that will basically show up for your server related to your different profiles that you push out so people know where they come from. So what you want to do is just type in your business name here. I'm just going to type in my name, so I've got that. You want to have an email address, and you could put a phone number and address there as well so that they can verify that it is, your server. So it's up to you on how you want to do that, but you could go ahead and set that up as well. I'm just going to leave that blank and just click on Next. And so now what it does is it says, hey, your web server doesn't have a trusted SSL certificate. And what that means is I don't have a certificate that's registered with an outside service that vouches for my server. And as we talked about when we did the SSL or the certificates tutorial, we talked about the fact that you could purchase one of those and have an outside entity sort of verify your server, and then basically that keeps your server from throwing up errors when your users go through it. So if you wanted to purchase one, you could do that. In my case, since this is a home server, I'm not worried about that. So if an error comes up, I mean my Family's just going to say, yep, that's fine, everything's good to go. You can choose a certificate from here. You can say no certificate or use the one that was created when your Open Directory was created. And so that's what I'm going to use there as my certificate. So then I just click on Next. And so it says click Finish to enable device management. So we're going to do that. We're just going to say Finish. And so now it's going to configure it. And you see now that device management is enabled. And all of a sudden now we have access to both of these items down here. So let me just explain a little bit about what each of these items means. Okay, so this is the enrolled devices using the device enrollment program. Now, the device enrollment program is something that's set up for businesses or for schools where you would enroll your devices in Apple's program and then set up your profiles through Profile Manager, and then your devices could be shipped to you pre-configured based on the profiles that you've got. Let me just show you. If I were just to check this right here, you can see it's going to take me through a process of setting up my device enrollment. And you have to create an account to make this work. So let me just click this to show you what it looks like. And so this is the device deployment screen. And you can see you can enroll your organization in either the device enrollment program, the volume purchasing program, or Apple ID for students. And you can set up an account and you can enroll yourself and get this going. Now, this is basically designed for businesses that will have a lot of devices that they want to have them show up with, with all of their deployment stuff on the device ahead of time, so that when you open it brand new, everything's on there. In this case, since we're looking at this more from the perspective of home users, I'm not going to go into this in depth, but just wanted to show you that that's there. So we're just going to cancel this because we're not going to use that. Now, you can also distribute apps and books from the volume purchasing program, and this is the same kind of idea. If I check this, you notice that I get a token that I'll be able to drag in here by signing up for the volume purchasing program. In fact, let's click that link. And so what it does is it takes me into this purchasing program. I can use it for education or for business. And what it lets me do is buy an application once for an increased sort of licensing fee. And then that particular application or book or whatever can be available to all of my devices. So it's like you're purchasing a license for an application that you can then use in your organization instead of having to buy that application over and over and over again with separate ID numbers or serial numbers for all the different devices. You just get one that everybody can use. Again, as a home user, that's really not what I need to do or economical, but just wanted to show you that you could do that. And then once you get a token, you just drag it here or you choose it from the Finder. So I'm just going to cancel that. So in this settings area, really the device management is all that I needed to set up. I'm not involved in these two at all. Now down here you can see we've got configuration profiles, and we've got the default configuration profile, which is settings for everyone. And if I just click on Edit here, I can actually change this profile name if I want to. I can change it to anything. I can say, general settings or whatever I want. I'm just going to leave it at settings for everyone because I think that communicates fine. And then you can include the configuration for all of these services that we have set up. So we've got calendar, we've got contacts, messages, VPN. All of those are live. If I had mail live, mail would show up here as well. And what that would mean is that whenever a user would basically install this settings for everyone profile, that it would automatically set up all of these services on their device so that they wouldn't have to do anything. Just with one click, it's all done. So you can see that Profile Manager is really powerful because all of these settings get set up and put in there for whatever user is logged into that machine that's in your user accounts over here. So I'm just going to say cancel and just leave that alone. Now I can also sign configuration profiles, which just allows me to sign the profiles with my certificate. And so I come in here and just choose the certificate I've got on the server and say OK. So now it's going to sign those profiles for me. I can edit that at any time if I wanted to. And so now I've got all of the basic settings down and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is just throw the switch to start the service. And again, just like always, it asks if I want to allow Profile Manager to be accessible from the internet, because it's going to open the ports for me on my router if I've got an Apple router. If you don't, then there are ports that you need to open yourself to make that accessible remotely. So I'm just going to say allow on there, and it's going to go ahead and open those ports for me. If I were to come up here to Office, you can see in here that it's going to actually add the Profile Manager service for me right here, which adds all of the ports that I need to have that accessible. Again, if you've got your own router that's a third-party router, then you'll need to add the port numbers in there yourself. All right, so let's go back now to Profile Manager. And so you can see now the service is available over the internet at this web address, and it is a web interface. So the nice thing about that is you can access it from any web browser and make changes that will then get pushed to your devices. So let me just show you what it looks like. You can open Profile Manager right down here just by clicking this little link here. And it's going to take us into a login page here. There we go. And so it's going to ask me for a username and password. So let me put that in there. And once I have that there, just say log in. And I'm going to say never for that website. And so this is what Profile Manager looks like. And so you can see here we've got our library of apps and books and devices and device groups, users and groups. And like I said, it is a web interface, so you can access it anywhere at that address and be able to go through and set up all of your users and devices with the profiles you want. So I just wanted to show you what that looks like. I'm going to go in depth in this a little bit more in a future screencast, but just wanted to show you what that looks like, what you just basically set up. So let me put this down here. And there's also a user portal that you use to get your devices enrolled. And I'm going to show you that again in a future screencast, but you can easily get to it just by clicking on this link here. So hopefully that gives you everything you need to set up the Profile Manager service and get it started. Like I said, in future screencasts, we're going to go further into this in talking about how you set up all of the different devices and how you set up your users and then how you actually use the profiles that you produce with Profile Manager. So that's all I have for this week. I'll be back at you next week with another screencast to help you learn how to do more things with your Mac. If you're interested in help in setting up your own server, feel free to contact me at todd@toddolthoff.com.